Russia withdrew from Kherson, and this is Russia's new plan for Ukraine, according to newspaper Pravda of Russia. So this is what the Russians are saying, even though the whole world is surprised seeing that Ukraine is really pushing Russia back, meaning that Russia operation, quote unquote, in Ukraine was meaningless all these 8 months. So what is going on? And even though Ukraine is being asked to find peace with Russia, well, why should they go towards peace talks when they are now looking as if they are winning over Ukraine, over Russia? Now, what does Russia have to say about what's going on? In the meantime, we have not had any news from Putin himself. There are also news and rumors, I don't know if they're true or not, saying that the generals have ousted Putin and that they've taken over the country, the governing of the country of Russia, in a type of a coup. So what do the Russians say concerning Russia's withdrawal from Kherson? The sequel based on what the Russians are saying. In one of the most decisive developments on the battlefield in the 9 months of the war, Ukrainian troops entered Kherson following the Russian withdrawal. They left their weapons, they left their bases, and they retreated. Now, the Central Intelligence Directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, GUR, issued a statement early this afternoon, this was yesterday, Friday, November 11, in which it states that the strategically important southern city, which has been under Russian occupation since March, is returning to Ukrainian control and calls the remaining Russian soldiers to surrender, although, as you read in the news, they have all left without a fight. And now the two sides, Russia and the US, NATO, are talking about it for peace, but no one knows exactly what will happen in the end, as the orders from the background are constantly changing. According to Pravda, Russia's new plan for the future is this: Ukraine will not survive the winter, it will be exhausted. As the Russian newspaper reports, Kiev, that is the Ukrainian government, Kiev is running out of resources and money. Western aid is not going to last forever. The maneuver of the armed forces of the Russian Federation, as the Russians call the withdrawal, calling it a maneuver, to take advantageous positions along the Dnieper River, changes the special operation aimed at exhausting Ukraine. Ukraine's economy minister Yulia Zyrydenko went to Washington for negotiations, and she said on Wednesday that continuous blackouts due to Russian strikes could lead to a bigger contraction in the GDP in 2022 than previously forecast, according to a Reuters report. Of course, if you have no energy, how are you going to run your production? If you have no energy, you can't even have water or gas or whatever. Never mind the people freezing to death. My goodness. So, according to Zyrydenko, a drop of 39% is expected instead of 35%. And she says the problem is that the companies don't work. If power outages continue in the coming weeks, the GDP could fall even further. According to Ukraine's economy minister, production volume in October fell 39% after contracting 35% from August to September, Reuters reports. Zyrydenko assured that the Ukrainian government is cutting costs by cutting civil servants and privatizing small state-owned enterprises. Kiev will still need foreign aid. Zyrydenko also tried to negotiate in the United States for supplies of electrical equipment such as transformers, power generators, and even LED light bulbs that could save electricity. U.S. officials have urged the Ukrainian government to implement reforms to establish transparent financial rules. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Kiev needs $38 billion to cover an unexpected budget deficit next year, another $17 billion to start urgent infrastructure repairs. The West is tired of funding Ukraine nonstop. It seems that the West is reluctant to finance Ukraine. The European Union pledged to provide $9 billion in loans in 2022, but $3 billion will never be sent. the European Central Bank will shut down the printing press in the spring. I mean, Europeans are having their own terrible problems, obviously. Instead of giving this money to help people last the long, cold winter of Europe by subsidizing their energy, which is through the roof, the cost of it, they're going to be sending billions and billions to Ukraine. I mean, this is really getting out of hand. Now, Hungary has refused to finance the 18 billion aid package for 2023. There will only be loans from the EU budget. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, promises an injection of $10 billion over the next 2 years. These are also loans. So everything they're trying to give Ukraine will be loans. They have to pay them back. Corresponds to external debt, of course. While Ukraine public debt to GDP stands at 100.1%, debt servicing is also becoming more expensive due to the rising dollar. Kiev has no chance of obtaining the frozen Russian assets because Russia has frozen an almost equivalent amount of Western assets. In addition, support for Ukrainian refugees is declining across the European Union. It is possible that many may eventually decide to return home, even though the Ukrainian officials say, don't come back. We don't want you coming back to Ukraine because we don't have enough energy to heat you as well. This is unbelievably absurd and bizarre. Now, they want to go back to Ukraine and the officials say, don't come back. Now, this will create additional pressure on the labor market. Unemployment will increase, they explain. The new phase of the special operation, the exhaustion of Ukraine, the maneuver of Russian armed forces to take advantageous positions along the Dnieper River leads to the confrontation with Ukraine to a new phase. Russia wants Ukraine to burn out. Winter is near. Russia has more than enough resources to see it through the winter. Ukraine has no resources. Ukraine only has help from the West, but even that won't last forever. And this is translated for you from a Greek article. You know, history repeats itself. Remember, the best ally for Russia, we all know this. We've learned it from Napoleon. We've learned it from World War II, Hitler. Russia's best ally is the Russian winter. Winter. They use the inclement, extreme cold weather to exhaust their opponent. And that's what Russia is saying they're going to do here. Even though, of course, we have not heard Putin come out to say anything. So there are those, as we said, that say that the generals have taken over and pushed him out. We don't know what's happening until he comes out to say something. Or one of his doppelgangers comes out to say something. You know, I don't believe it's really Putin. It's one of his 3 or 4 or 10 doppelgangers. But anyway, this is what Russia is explaining here. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.